Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales. Judge Gonzales, we were talking about the war powers and separation, the war powers situation. Let's also talk about the Iran situation. Senator Corker from Tennessee has negotiated and pretty much made the White House like a bill he's passed through there that would give the Senate a major role at the table if an Iran deal is brought to them. Do you think that's a proper division of powers between the Senate and the White House in terms of how this ought to be done? Do you like what Senator Corker negotiated? I
don't have a problem with that. When I first got here, I had a conversation with Senator Corker when I asked him a question about the appropriate role of the Senate in foreign affairs, and he expressed to me, this was several years ago, that he believed that the Senate had abandoned its role, that the Senate had a more muscular role to play under our constitutional scheme. And so I'm not surprised by the direction he's taken with respect to this particular matter. And again, this is another issue. This is a very important issue of the American people. Could have devastating impact upon the American economy and the American people if it goes badly. And so having the Congress, the collective wisdom of the Congress involved in this kind of decision moving forward is something I think is probably a good idea.
Another place where Congress and the President have been clashing has been over the President's use of executive orders in terms of changing immigration policy. Where do you come down on that? Do you believe the President has the right to issue the executive orders that he's been doing, or do you believe that he's overstepped his bounds as some in Congress did?
Well, of course, that's an issue that's being resolved in the courts. What I've said repeatedly is that the President of the United States has a great deal of discretion in the execution of laws, but in the exercise of that discretion, he can't ignore a law. He can't refuse to enforce it because he believes it's bad public policy. It is true that presidents in this arena have exercised discretion in the past, but never to this degree and never in the same kind of manner. And so I really do think it's a tough question. It's an open question as to whether or not where the court's going to go on this.
A couple other areas the High Court's going to rule probably sometime next month about a latest challenge to the Affordable Care Act. Last time it was upheld, the constitutionality 5-4. This time over the tax credits, do you expect a similar decision or something different?
I don't know. You know, for my days in dealing with the court on some of the major terrorism cases, when I worked in the White House, we didn't fare as well as I had hoped. It really taught me a lesson about trying to anticipate where the court's going to come out on some of these issues.
One other thing, I'll try to see if you want to speculate about it, that's the same-sex marriage decision. The court opened the door on this when they struck down the federal law on this. Now lots of state laws have been challenged and overturned. The court looks like it's going to make a decision. Any idea where you think it'll go? Another 5-4 decision in all likelihood, one way or the other?
I think in all likelihood it's going to be a 5-4 decision. From the arguments, I think probably the betting money is that Kennedy is going to be the deciding vote in favor of striking down state bans against same-sex marriage. But it remains to be seen.
You had several controversies while you were Attorney General, one of them about the appointment or the firing of some of the U.S. attorneys across the country. You resigned at that time saying it was in the best interest of the department. Later it was found in investigation you did nothing wrong. Why didn't you stay and fight?
Well, I fought for a long time, but at some point, you know, it becomes more than just about yourself. The fights were a big distraction to the work of the department, and so whenever I would do a press conference on, you know, battling child pornography or going over sex or going against sex traffickers, the only questions I would ever get in these news conferences were questions related to these investigations. It really became a terrible distraction to the work of the department. It was simply an appropriate time to leave.
The Justice Department has been involved quite a bit recently, but I think it goes back even to your time of working with the police departments to make sure they're handling their powers, duties, and responsibilities and are training correctly. We've seen this particularly in what happened with Ferguson, Missouri, in Baltimore, in Cleveland, and I think New Orleans had this as well. Are we in a situation in this country where we need to seriously reassess the role that the police play in our community and how they ought to be trained and ready to do that? Do you see a nationwide problem here, or is it just isolated?
I don't think it's a nationwide problem, and I think we shouldn't paint with a broad brush here. I think, you know, overwhelmingly, police departments around the country are doing a great job. They're following the law, they're following the rules, they're working closely with the community leaders to make sure that everyone understands what the rules of the road are. So I don't view this as sort of a national problem, but I do think we have isolated instances where there should be better training, perhaps additional guidelines put in place to ensure that the police officers understand what they should be doing, and the community understands what their rights are and where they should go, where they can go in the event those rights are violated.
One of the answers that some people seem to be offering here is, well, let's put body cameras on the patrol officers. They already have a lot of them in the cars. Do you think that's a good idea? Is that a protection for the police officer, or is it invasive?
I would not have a problem with body cameras. I think they could be helpful, quite frankly, to police officers. And so, you know, I haven't thought much about that, but I think sitting here this morning with you, or sitting here with you, I don't view this as a problem.
Your work against terrorism and your fight against sexual predators while you were Attorney General was recognized as some of your top accomplishments. Do you believe that? Do you feel that way? Or do you look at something else that you think was the best thing?
No, I think I would rate those two, but I would also rate my role in the appointment and in the confirmation of John Roberts and Sam Alito to the Supreme Court.
Judge Gonzales, thank you so much for coming on. We may have you back again in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics this week. Hope you can be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.